Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. On the sidelines of the Shangri-La Dialogue Security Forum in Singapore, India's Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, acknowledged the loss of Indian air assets on the first day of the war, without quantifying the losses, after which he was targeted viciously on the social media by the right-wing trolls aligned with the BJP. Now, opposition says that this information shared with international media should have been shared at the all-party meeting first. So the big questions arise from here on. Has the right-wing ecosystem undermined the credibility of the Chief of Defence Staff? Question number one. Question number two. Did MEA and the armed forces desire deliberately as a strategy to acknowledge the losses? Question number three. Has government failed to manage the media narrative? And question number four. Is it the beginning of a new political battle around Operation Sindoor, especially after the Chief of Defence Staff interview? Joining me this evening is retired General Ashok Mehta, who joins us for this program. So thank you so much for joining, and it's a real pleasure having you on the program. My first question, sir, and your response on the Chief of Defence Staff giving an interview to Bloomberg and Reuters and not speaking to the Indian media, or this information not coming out from any of the bureaucrats back in India, but it's happening on a foreign soil. And this accusation by the opposition that why is it that he's going there and speaking? Why not this information was disclosed or shared domestically first? Are these concerns legitimate?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very unusual for a Chief of Defence Staff soon after a military engagement to go abroad and make disclosures that have not first been made on Indian soil, domestically in India. General Chauhan, either he was authorized or he was not authorized. I think the former is probably more credible because it's beyond his pay grade to go outside and say the kind of things he said. He said a lot more than was legitimate or necessary, and therefore not just the opposition, I think well-meaning commentators like me and all Indians should have been informed of this before he went abroad. And I get this information from Reuters and Bloomberg, whereas I should have got this on my own media. So I don't know why this happened, how this happened. It's very unusual, it's abnormal, and the government needs to explain how this has happened. And the concerns of the opposition, especially, are very legitimate because they've been asking these very questions, which the Chief of Defence Staff answered by a foreign correspondent. And so I think the government needs to explain.
No, but there is another way of looking at it, that maybe that the government has strategized like that we'll speak to the foreign media first and Bloomberg and Reuters, and then we will answer, once the multi-party delegations return. Maybe that could be a strategy. So what I'm trying to understand is that, does it look like a well thought out strategy by the government, the MEA and the armed forces?
No, I don't think so. I think from little that I have seen and watched, uh, I don't think this government is in the habit of doing things according to well planned strategies. There's a lot of ad hocism. And in this case, I don't know what on earth the government thought that it would be better for the chief of defense staff to make the revelation. It's quite legitimate for a defense minister, at least, or the national security advisor, to make the pronouncements and the admissions that the chief of defense staff has gone and made on foreign soil at the Shangri-La dialogue.
No, but you know what really surprises me, we've all covered press conferences and the way they are organized under Modi regime. They are very well sanitized. It's not that anybody can ask any random questions. But if you look at the setting in which General Anil Chauhan's that soundbite which it appeared with that Singaporean anchor, it does appear that that soundbite or that clip which we see is not well organized. I mean, how can a chief of defense staff come on the sidelines of a summit, talk to this anchor, just sitting there in a very casual environment, and then this becomes viral? Obviously, people are going to ask questions. He's not an ordinary person. He's your chief of defense staff. Where were the media managers? What were they doing? And how did they allow him to give a soundbite like this, which looks so frivolous and random?
Well, I think that's a decision that the Chief of Defense Staff, General Chauhan, made by himself, the environment that he chose. But I think the more legitimate question is what he said. The kind of things he said are the very questions that people have been asking from day one after the strikes, and answers to which have already been provided, or at least part of the answer was already provided by foreign media. There has so much already come out in the Western press on loss of air assets, and for the chief of defense staff to only confirm without indicating the numbers. And here we are obviously talking about the aircraft that were lost on the first day. And now, after what he has said about the tactical mistakes made, again, I mean, I cannot understand for my life that why does he have to go and make these admissions abroad on foreign soil without first letting the government or letting a committee go into the shortfalls, because that's not the only tactical error. There are lots of other mistakes that have been made. So for him to talk about these tactical errors and at length, and in fact make admissions about our strategy, our counter air operations, the errors in that was also quite unusual for a chief of defense staff. He should just have said we've lost some air assets due to the actions, but we completed our mission that was given to us. And so I think that would have concluded the conversation.
But now what happens? I mean, after these admissions have been made, indirect admissions by Vikram Misri, then we've also seen the military officers earlier confirm. They said that we neither confirm nor deny, and losses are part of the combat. And now we have the admission coming in from CDS Anil Chauhan. So is this a turning point in the 1 month and about 10 or 11 days of Operation Sindoor we have seen? And does this look like a new political battle, which now apparently Prime Minister Modi and the entire BJP will have to answer?
Well, I think it's a it's firstly an admission of the tactical errors that were made, and this opens up a whole can of worms about the mission that was allotted to the Air Force, how the Air Force went into its counter air operations, about suppression of air defense and establishing air superiority or air dominance, and how, uh, because of the faulty mission that was given, or the restraint with which this mission was, terms of this mission were framed, resulted in loss of aircraft. And the risk that pilot took in engaging those targets in the primary mission that was taken by the Indian Air Force. So it brings into question a lot of issues that require a committee to study and go into and make corrections for future, because the new counter-terror doctrine that the government has established or announced, which it calls the new normal, I mean, it has raised the stakes. It has raised thresholds of escalation, including the nuclear threshold. And because it's a doctrine that will require a lot more investment in defense, calls for very detailed scrutiny of what our current spending is and what it should be, and especially if the Air Force, as we've seen now, if aerial engagement is going to be the sword arm of military operations, then a huge lot of investment has to go into the Indian Air Force. The Indian Air Force chief, after the after success of Op Sindoor, was talking the other day, just 2 days or 3 days ago, at the CII conference, and he said this. He made this startling announcement that why does the public sector undertakings make commitments that they can't keep? In other words, he's telling them that you tell me you will deliver my aircraft on time, and I haven't got a single aircraft. So why do you make these commitments? He's making these public pronouncements accusing and rightly so, of the HAL, to be very specific, of not keeping to its targets. And the Air Force should have 45 squadrons. I think the figure 45 also needs review. 45 was decided 30 years ago. 30 years ago, the geostrategic environment was different. Today, we are talking of a hot war. This is only a non-contact war. What about a hot war with Pakistan, with China, and we've got Bangladesh coming up? So what happens? We are down to 31 squadrons, he's telling you, and there is no movement on further investment. The world across, even yesterday and today, the Brits have carried out a strategic defense review. We have never done one. Never. We have never done one. We never produced a white paper. We don't have a national security doctrine. Our chief of defense staff says we don't need one. But we have a counter-terrorism doctrine. Amazing. So I think a lot needs to be done on promoting, enhancing this so-called deterrence and escalation dominance. These are very highfalutin, fanciful words that we use. But to add meaning to these, we must have military power, real military power, not through rhetoric, but through actual investment. And I mean, I've only given you the example of the Air Force. I mean, look at the Navy. The Navy is asking for a third aircraft carrier. The Army is terribly deficient of its weaponry. So the government has to prioritize, and Operation Sindoor is the culmination of that. There must be, as the opposition is demanding, a Kargil-like committee. There should be a Pahalgam review committee report which should go into these aspects, especially after we've established this new normal of treating every act of terror as an act of war.